morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. All right. So today, I want to talk about something my aunt mentioned yesterday, and this is an aunt that I've never met, but we became aware of one another. I believe she was probably more aware of me than I of her, and because I just met my family on my dad's side about 3 years ago. Maybe 4, about 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. This is an aunt who is 91 years old. And she called me yesterday when I was at work, and so I called her back, and we were talking for a good minute, maybe for about an hour. And in the conversation, she had mentioned, that she's 91 years old. She just had a birthday. And she also mentioned that, her health and her mind were kind of leaving, she was aware of this. And she said, I shouldn't complain. There's no reason to complain. I'm 91. All my family died in their 60s. So she's still kicking, but it's what she said is like she acknowledged something. But there was something even greater that stood out to me, and that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. So let me, I think all my windows are closed. Hold on a second. So she said, I shouldn't complain, because I'm 91. She said, and that's what she asked for. She said she asked God if she could live to be 100 years old. And she said, it seems like I'm getting my prayer, my desires, because it's, I'm getting what I asked for. This is what I asked for. I asked to live to see 100 years old. I want to live to see 100, she said. And it seems like it's happened. She says, I have 9 more years to go. And she's still fairly healthy. I mean, she moves around on her own. She lays out her clothes. Like, she's still able, And but she said something. She said, but I didn't ask for health. I did not ask for health. She goes, I asked to live to be 100, but I didn't ask for health. And when she said that, it just took me back to how we create and how we're not really aware of the things that we create. And so she said something. She said I didn't ask for the whole package. I just asked for part of it. She said be mindful when you ask for something. Ask for the whole package. Ask for the whole thing. And that is or was an extremely important piece of information. Like, that has so much value, because we often ask for things, but we don't really, it's not within our consciousness. Well, it's really not within our nature to ask for things that we don't feel we don't have. So when you're, like health, when you're young and you're healthy and you're able, why would you ask for health? Why? It doesn't make any sense. If you have money, why would you ask for money? Why would you ask for abundance in that manner if that's what you have? You don't ask for those things. You do not ask for those things. And it's because we don't put value on those things until they're no longer had. And this is how people create. You see, when you ask for things when you don't have a lack of it, you get those things easily, because there isn't any resistance within you when you ask for that desire. And the thing is, a prayer is a desire. A desire is a prayer. It's a calling. It's an asking to the Creator, this is what you want. And depending on what's within your soul, it will be granted. So she had a desire to live to see. I mean, come on. I mean, look at it. All of her family dies at around 60 years old, or they have died at around the 60 age mark, and she hasn't. And what is different about her is she had a request. She put in a request. And the thing is, her other family members probably didn't put in that request. But she had this desire to live to see 100. And the thing is, we all these desires that we have, I mean, they can come true if we truly have a true pure desire without anything that prevents it from happening. Like, meaning you have zero resistance to the idea of it happening. So when you're 20 years old and you're feeling great, you're feeling fine, of course, I want to live to see 100. You're optimistic about it. There's nothing within you that says it can't happen. And it's granted. When, you know, and it took me back to some of the things that I asked for as a kid, and actually immediately took me back to the things that I asked for as a kid that I have now. Because when you're a kid, before you learn the errors of the world and all the doubt sets in that people put upon you because of their doubt, you have these, you use your imagination, and you see things, and you want things, and you desire things, and there's nothing within you that says you can't have it. Hold on, fix my camera, it's kind of crooked. There's nothing within you that says you cannot have that which you desire. And so it's a desire that goes out into the universe, and it's stored. The universe has it. It knows that it's there. It's within your soul, basically, is what it is. It's within your soul, and the universe responds to our soul. And so that desire has nothing to impede it from it manifesting. And it just, you know, like my house. And I've told you this before, you know, my previous videos, that, like, you know, I really didn't work hard for the house, but I've always wanted a house. You know, even as a kid living in an apartment, I was like, I would like to have a house. I want a house. But there was nothing within me that said I couldn't have it. I just desired a house. And I got a house. And I didn't have to work for it, and still don't have to work for it. It's just given to me. And and then, you know, every single car that I, except for this one. Well, let me take that back, because, you know, my first car, I remember when I was 16, and I saw, I was at my sister's house, and she had a friend, and she had an Acura Legend. And I was like, oh, and I remember seeing I mean, like, this is before I was really into cars. Like, I really wasn't into cars. But then I remember seeing her steering column moving on its own, like it was just like mechanical and moving. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool how it just like came out of the dash and just like basically sat in her lap. And I was like, that is so awesome. And so ever since that point, I wanted an Acura Legend. Like, that was the car that I wanted. And do you know, so that was around, well, actually I was younger than 16. It was actually before I could drive. So I had to be around 12, 13, maybe 13, 14, maybe 13, 12, somewhere around there. And and my first car ended up being an Acura Legend. I remember. And that was basically given to me too. Like, I remember I was going to college, and this guy had an Acura Legend. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted one of those cars. I think I was like 19 years old. I was like, oh gosh, you know, you have an Acura Legend. I've always wanted one of those. He goes, you can have it if you want it. And I was like, huh? I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, he goes, it's too much for me. Because he bought it, obviously he bought it new. So the payments were, you know, outrageously high. And he goes, yeah, he goes, if you get a loan, you know, because he goes, there's not much to pay on it, but the payments are just too high for me right now, and I may have to let it go. He goes, so if you can take it off my hands and get a loan and buy it from me, your payments would be super low. And I was like, cool. So I did it, and it was basically given to me. I think my payments were like $89 a month. It was like 89 or 77. It was some weird, or 66. Is that what it was? I know it was a 2-digit number. And I had a car, like, just like that. I had a car. And I was actually working at the college, so, you know, while I was going to school, I had, you know, some change coming in from working at the college, and so it was easily paid for, you know? And so it was basically just given to me, you know, literally given to me, and it's something that I desired, and there wasn't anything within me. And the thing is, it wasn't like I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. No, it was just a desire that I had in that moment. And when I saw an Acura, I was like, oh wow, you know, I just marveled at the car. And it ended up being my first car. And then I remember my second car, which was a Nissan Altima. And that's when they first came out. And I remember it was black and had like the heads up display, and it was leather and everything. Like, it was just top of the line. And I remember ordering a brochure and just looking at it all the time, kind of like the kid did in the movie The Secret, when he would just look at the picture of the bike and it came to him. Like, it happened like that. And I would just picture myself driving in the car and, having it and, being in it, and the feeling of being in it, just like the movie The Secret. And this is obviously before The Secret came out. And this is actually before I even had the Acura Legend. So before I even had a car, period, that was also a car that I desired. So the first one came to me, and then sure enough, one day I stopped at a car lot, and there was a Nissan Altima GLE, the same that was in the brochure, which was the top of the line, black exterior. It was a super black exterior with a tan interior, just like the picture. And I had that car, and that car was nothing too. It was like, it didn't cost any money. Like, I think it was only like 10 grand or something like that. And so I ended up getting it because it was something that I desired. And I'm not sure what you're doing, but I'm not. I hope you're going straight. I need to get over. So that was the second car that I had. And beyond that, another car that I wanted was the Nissan Maxima. And I remember having that brochure and looking at it and dreaming about it and, picturing myself in it. And the same thing that I did with the Altima. And I remember one day the transmission went out in my my car, my Altima. It went out, and actually I couldn't drive into the lot, but I went to the lot, and I ended up getting a Nissan Maxima. I didn't know what I was going to get. All I knew was I needed a car. And I went to the Nissan dealer because that's, I had pretty, I like the Nissan, so I went to the Nissan dealer and said, hey, I had a Nissan, I just get another one. I thought I was going to get like another Altima or some other small car or whatever, but I ended up getting the flagship of the Nissan, and that's another desire that I had. And so it just kept taking me back to all these things that I desired that I ended up getting, and I didn't have any resistance to it, but they manifested. It's just something that I thought about, I felt about, and then I just went on living life, not really thinking much about it after that. But when it came time for it to happen, it happened. And it happened unexpectedly. I didn't think anything like, oh wow, I was, I tried to manifest this. Like, I didn't try to manifest anything. You don't have to try to manifest anything. You just have to not have resistance to the things that you're desiring. And you have to be specific. Very specific, not specific to the point where you're like, I want it to be like this, and you have tension. Anytime you have tension within your body, when you're thinking about something, or like you have a fear or a tension or a stress that you're worried that it won't come out right, and you're trying to make sure that the universe understands. Like, the universe got it has your back. Like, it has you. It got you. Okay, so like, you don't have to worry about it. The universe has your back. It knows, and you don't have to be so specific. I mean, you're not dealing with someone who has, an impairment. Like, the universe is not impaired. We are impaired, but the universe is not impaired. God's design is not flawed. It is flawless, and it knows everything. It knows the things you don't even know, so you don't have to, like, be all crazy about it, which is what some people do when they try to manifest. They're like, oh, I have to, meditate on it. Like, you don't even have to do that. If your desire was pure, it's already out there. You don't have to walk in with an eraser and scribble it and whatever. Just be specific in terms of what you want. Your desire is your desire. And if your desire should change, then your desire changes. It's really that simple. This is crazy. Living in LA, you start out with sunglasses. You start out with sunglasses, and you end up with bifocals on, trying to see. Ooh, let me not put that out in the universe because I don't have bifocals. Let me be specific about that. I claim clear vision. Anyway, so yeah, she kind of reignited something that I already knew. She brought something that I knew to the forefront in terms of creation and how you create. And that's how you create. You just simply desire things. It's not a want, it's not a mind thing. It's a feeling thing. If there are no feelings attached to it, then there's a high chance that it's not going to happen. And if you're vague about it, the universe is vague about it. If you say, oh, I want a car. Okay, and some people, they do. They just like, hey, I want a car. I just want to get around. Then they get a car and they're like, yeah, it's all right. It's not the one I wanted. Well, which one did you want? Clearly, you were not specific about it. You have to be specific, but not to the point where you're worried about it not coming, in the way that you want it to. You have to trust, and this is where the faith comes in. You have to have faith in the universe. Have faith. Why does this thing keep moving? All crooked. You have to have faith in the universe. Have faith that the universe knows what you desire. Have faith in the universe delivering that which you desire. Just have faith. But if you don't believe that it can come to you, that's resistance. Oh, that's what I was saying. Anytime you have a desire and you have resistance in your body, you feel stressed out, or this is a big one. People want things that they don't have. People desire things that they don't have, but in that desire, there's a resistance attached to it. Meaning there's a negative feeling, a bad feeling, a sad feeling, a feeling of lack, a sense of fear of you not having whatever it is. And this happens a lot with money. Generally, people who don't have money want money only because they don't have it. So their desire is based on lack. Well, lack is not love. You see, you have to desire things from a perspective of abundance. The feeling of having that without having the attachment of lack attached to it. And that's very difficult to do because most people want something based on the fact that they don't have it. You see? So it's in order to start creating differently, what has to happen is you have to change your feeling. You have to change your feeling. And this is when you sit with the fact that you don't have anything. But you don't have any negative anything attached to it or towards it. Like you're not angry because you're broke. You're just not angry. You don't have any negative resistance towards the fact that you don't have any money. So you can have $3 to your name and you can look at it like you're broke, or you can look at it like, I have a place to stay, I have $3, I can go buy this. Meaning you have something. Don't focus on you not having anything, because that's not true. You see what I'm saying? It's not true when you don't have anything. Or I'm sorry, it's not true when you say to yourself you don't have anything, especially if you have a place to stay, whether it's a room you're renting, an apartment you have, a house you have. It doesn't even matter if you have a mortgage and it's difficult to pay. You have a home, and that's what you feel. You feel the abundance of having that home, because you can be in a different situation. You can be in a roommate situation. You can be in an apartment situation, but you have a home. And if obviously there's something you desired and you got it, and so you feel the joy in having that. You feel the abundance in having that, and before you know it, everything else changes. You stop. And the thing is, you want to minimize the feeling of lack. You want to minimize the fear of not having enough. Because it's too much. That which you put out there, meaning that which you feel, is going to come back to you in order to sustain your feeling. Because that's what the universe does, is it sustains whatever it is that you're putting out. That's what the universe does, is it sustains. It sustains you in your current state. That's what the universe does. And as we change, it sustains that. That's what the universe is doing, is sustaining things for our experience, for our enjoyment or lack. Wherever we are, that's where it holds us. But it's only holding us there because we're telling the universe to hold it there. You know? So, so at one point I wanted like one of these, what is it? It's a crossover. It's not quite an SUV, it's not quite a car, so the crossovers like Muranos and whatever, like the Lexus little SUV things. They're not big ones, they're just in betweens. Well, at one point I did desire one of those, and when my engine blew on my Maxima, I had 268,000 miles on that car, by the way, so I had it for a long time. I had it for 12 years, I think, 12, 13 years. Anyway, when that car broke, I went to the Nissan dealer, and I was going to get another Nissan, but it wasn't out yet, and so I ended up getting in this one. And when I got it, I was like, well, the whole point was to just get in it temporarily until the other one was released, because it just wasn't released yet. And they kept saying, you know, it'll be soon, but soon turned into being next year, like in the middle of the year. So it didn't come out when they said it was going to come out, so I ended up getting stuck with this one. But it's actually something that I desired, but I forgot I had desired it. And I'm a huge fan of music. Like, I love music, I love loud music, and I love music that has a lot of bass in it. And this one has like a Bose stereo system, or Bose sound system, and it just bumps. And I was like, whoa, like I've never had a car like that, you know. And so all these things were just coming into play. And I remember thinking, because in my Maxima I had like one of those big old not subwoofer, but a big old woofer in my trunk, you know, big boxes. And so I was one of the guys, you know, bumping loud music, you know, down the street. And I always thought to myself, it would be nice if I just had, you know, an awesome sound system without having this big old clunky box. And sure enough, this car has 2 subwoofers and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regular speakers. So I mean, it sounds amazing. And I remember it was a desire of mine, you know, and that's what I got. That's what I got. Even down to with black interior. And the thing is, this was the last one. Like, this was the last Murano. Like, they didn't have any other, like, top of the line anything, really, in terms of SUV. And I was like, really? I was like, well, okay, well, here we go, you know? And so, again, the law of attraction happens. And so now I don't try to create things. I just have desires for things, and understand that those desires will come to manifest itself for me in time. Not when I want it to happen. It's when the universe decides or feels that it can happen. And that is based on my soul condition. Because when you don't have resistance, that's when the things come to you. When you have resistance, it comes to you. Does that make sense? So, you know, I don't have any resistance. I'm like, I want this. I don't really want for anything anymore. I mean, I desire for things, and I'm like, okay, you know, if I have it, I have it. If I don't, I don't. But generally, the things that I want, I'm able to go out and get it. No big deal. And it's not like, and it's different. How I manifest today is different than how I used to manifest. So I used to manifest like, everything would come to me here and there, you know, but now things come almost immediately because I have the means to have those things immediately. So, you know, be mindful of what's within you. Everything is about what's within you, how you feel about things. If you're always angry and you're just mad about things, yes, you can use your will to get things, but those things will be taken away. I mean, there's a lot of people who use their will to get things, and something always happens to it. It's damaged, it gets taken away. I mean, that's what repossession is. You get it, you work hard. Listen to people, I work hard for that. And they're angry. And it gets repossessed. You understand? Like, their soul, yes, they want it, it's a desire, but they're trying to make it happen before, oh gosh, stunk. But they're trying to make it happen before the universe says, or before their soul condition says they can have it. And this is important to understand, because I was listening. This is interesting. I was listening to Beyonce's new album, it's called The Carter. So it's Beyonce and Jay-Z, right? So they did like this duet album together. So they're on every single track together. And I was listening to it, and as I'm listening to it, I was like, uh-oh, something's coming. Like, something is coming, and it is going to be big. Like, they are going to suffer a great loss. A great loss. And I don't know what that loss is going to be, but it's going to be a great loss. And in time, people will find out what that loss is. But obviously, because they're public figures, they keep things under wraps. But as I was listening to the album, I was like, they were talking about fuck you, and basically they were looking down on people who don't have, and because they were acknowledging what they do have, and like, yeah, I got this, and you know, F you if you don't this, and they were talking about, they were just really, really down on everyone else, who isn't them. And I was like, you are not humble, and these things, the things that you have been awarded, are the things that you worked hard for, because they worked hard for this. Like, I mean, it's grueling to, be on tour all the time and, do all these things. And yes, they have a lot of money, but they worked hard. They used their will to have the money. It's not something that just fell into their hands. And so when you work for things like that and you're not humble, you get a lesson. And that lesson is to have or experience a sense of lack, so that you're taught the lesson of gratefulness. And in order to be grateful, you have to be humble. And they are not any of these things. I don't care what you hear in an interview. And, you look at the music. You listen to the things that they're saying. They'll do an interview and they'll smile, and you'll see Beyonce, and she'll do the little giggle thing. You're like, oh, she's so sweet. No. And I learned this with Janet Jackson, because I was a huge fan of Janet Jackson growing up. And like, Janet Jackson could do no wrong in my eyes, right? And, she's always seems so innocent, and, it's like, oh, so soft-spoken. You just think she's just this loving individual. But when you start to look into who she is and how she responds sometimes, you see that she's not a very nice person. She's a very angry person. And if you look at her life, you see, and sometimes she put it in her interviews where, she talks about the pain that she's experienced, and then, the whole thing with how she was very angry with Justin Timberlake, when that whole fiasco happened at the Super Bowl. And she just has there's a lot of anger. And so when you look at her life, like, look at all of her marriages have failed. All of them have been, abusive. It's like, look at her experience. Just look at her experience. And she's even lost. I mean, she just was on the icon thing on Billboard, but she was like, what do they call it? Blackballed or something. So she hasn't been on TV for 9 years, because of whatever happened. And that's the thing. It's like she suffered a loss, and it's because of the anger. And so when I was listening to Beyonce and Jay-Z's album, I was like, you guys got it coming. You guys got it coming, because you're not being truthful. I mean, in terms of how what in Sam's hell is going on, but lift is going on. That's what's going on. He's up early in the morning trying to get his hustle on. Yeah, I mean, just, you can look at people who, this is proven, you can, all this stuff that I'm talking about can be proven if you just look at the lives of people. Look at the lives of people who have suffered great losses. Look at their lives. Look at what, later on, usually, when they put a book out about their life, they're like, this happened and this was going on in my life. And you can see why certain experiences happen. You can see why they experience such pain. You can see why they experience such lack. you can see why they experience such loss. That's the thing. Loss is awful. It's one thing not to have something, to ever have something, but it's very painful when you have something and it's taken away. Oh my gosh. It's like, man, I had it. Like you were able to taste what it, you know, the thing that you had, you know, the experience. You can taste it, you can feel it, it was so real, and all of a sudden for it to be taken away, you know. So, you know, be mindful of the things that you have within your soul, like the anger, the sadness, like get that stuff out. You know, even if you have the sadness within you, you don't have to live in it, because you are generating, you are putting out a frequency every moment of your existence. You are putting out a frequency, and the universe is responding to it. It's saying, oh, you want that? I can deliver that to you. This person, yep, he's having a bad day. He needs some negative inner experiences too. He'll T-bone you. You know, that's how it works. That's how it works. If that's part of what the lesson is for you. So anytime you see someone in a car accident, it could be a small fender bender. It could be a gentle bump where there isn't any damage. Like someone hit me one day. Someone hit me, I don't know, about how old is this car? 2 years? So maybe 2 years ago. Or this car 4 years old, I think. So 2 years ago, someone hit me. I was on Sunset Boulevard, I think, in Hollywood. And, you know, the light was red, and all of a sudden, you know, the light turned green and people started driving, but my lane wasn't moving. So the person was clearly on their phone, and their peripheral vision caught the car next to them going, and so they assumed, oh, let me gently, you know, step on the gas because we're moving. But like I said, our lane wasn't moving, and so they bumped into me, and it was like boom, and it wasn't a big bump, but it was enough for me to know that somebody hit me. And so I was like, let me go forward and pull over to the side. This person made a right turn and took off. I was like, really? And there was so much traffic, like there's nothing I could do. Like I just couldn't do anything. So I was like, whatever. And I just kept it pushing. And when I looked, there really wasn't any damage. Like there was a little mark, which was something that I was able to rub out with my finger. You know, so, and that let me know that was my law of attraction. And so the law of attraction was just enough to get my attention, but not enough to cause damage. Does that make sense? So, you know, it's about being mindful of the things that are happening to us. You know, all law of attractions hold a lesson within it. All law of attractions are carrying something. It's carrying a message. So within that is encased a message, and it's up to us to see what that message is. And until we become more aware, more conscious of the meanings of certain things, and the areas of our body or the areas of our vehicle or whatever the incident happens, until we become more aware of that, Google it. Google spiritual meaning of this. Spiritual meaning of being rear-ended. Spiritual meaning of hitting another car. Spiritual meaning of being hit, you know, from the side or T-boned or whatever you want to call it. Spiritual meaning of cutting my finger. Spiritual meaning of having something in my eye. Spiritual meaning of whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Every single thing has a meaning. And it's up to us to figure out what that meaning is. And Google is great until you figure this stuff out on your own and you understand and you have a better understanding. Like there's a book. The book that I had posted on a video, I don't know how long ago, but it's called what is it? The body is the barometer of the soul or to the soul or of the soul, I think. Yeah, the body is the barometer of the soul or something like that. Get off your phone, crazy fool. Ain't got no time for this. You know, you people are stupid. So, you know, Google this stuff. Find out what it is. Be aware. As you become aware, you're able to live your life differently because you're able to now work on certain things that you didn't even know you needed to work on. You know? So, there you have it. That's it. That's how it goes, people. That's how it goes. But yeah, that conversation yesterday was a good conversation. And even that was my law of attraction, because the last time we talked was a year ago. An entire year. And she that's funny, because she said, my mind is, going. She goes, sometimes I don't know what day it is. I keep having to ask my daughter, what today is, what today is. And she said, I get, I feel bad. I'm tired of asking, every day, what today is. She said she put out her church clothes thinking she was going to go to church, and it was Tuesday. I fell out laughing. I was like, but she said, she's having trouble with her days. And then she came out, she said, we need to stay in contact. She said, it's been a year since we talked. And I said, that's when I lost it. I said, you're having problems with your memory, but yet it was a year since we last talked. I was laughing. She started laughing too. She thought that was hilarious. Anyway, that was my law of attraction yesterday, for her to bring that to my awareness again, because it was something that I obviously intellectually knew, but it wasn't something that was present. And if it's not present, then it generally means that it's not in your soul. And that's the difference between knowing something intellectually and knowing something on a soul level. When you know something intellectually, you can recall it, but it's usually after the fact. But if it's on a soul level, then you live by that, because you operate from your soul, generally more often than not, and your mind is the thing that comes in and changes things up for you. So if it's on a soul level, you don't have to think about it. It's just going to happen. So people who try to be loving, that's in their mind. That being loving is not even something that's in their soul, because they have to make themselves aware if they're being loving or not. When it's within your soul, you don't have to think about it. It just happens. You just do loving things because love is within your soul. That's it. It's within your soul. So all these people who are like, do this to be loving and do that, and I try to do this to be more loving, you're wasting your time. You might as well just be the demon that you are, and so that you can see who and what you really truly are. That's the whole goal. And if you keep pretending to be something that you're not, you're never going to see who you truly are. So it's always my recommendation to be truthful, to acknowledge who you really are and live that, so that you can see who and what you are. How else can you change? How else can you know that you need to change? If you don't acknowledge the things that are within your soul, how can you know that something needs to change? If you're always angry, like there's this person at work, and this person just talks about their problems all the time, every morning. It's just a problem. What's going on with this person? What's going on with their partner? What's going on with their family? What's going on with this? And I'm like, and then I say, when that person does come and talk to me, I'm like, this is, no, it's not that. And I'm like, see, you don't want to acknowledge your role, because anytime anyone tells me that there's something going on with someone else, I always bring it back to them. And I'm like, hey, look, it's because of this. No, it's not because of that. It's because they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. And these are the people who continually live in the cycle of pain, because they're not aware of their role. They're not aware of what they're doing. They're not aware of their part. They're not aware of who they are. They're not aware of their soul condition. And every time they want to, put it on someone else, they won't know. They won't allow themselves to know. So they remain unaware, or I don't even want to say it's unaware. They just want to continue to deny. They will continue to deny. That's what people teach you to do. Deny. If you do something, just deny. Don't admit to anything, the lawyer says. Just deny. Oh my goodness, I tell you people, I don't know what's going on. I know exactly what's going on. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I'm getting close to the office, so I don't know if I should bring it up. if I can even remember what that thing is. What did I want to talk about? It was something from my Instagram. I can't remember what it is. I guess it's not important. I'm having some of this coffee. I think I should stop making coffee in the morning. To bring to work or on my way to work, because I usually dump it out by the time I get there, because I forget about it and it gets cold. I guess that's it. Yeah, a lesson from the 91-year-old woman. That was a good conversation yesterday. And also, yesterday, look, I have been against these things called dream boards. I remember making one in school. I think it was actually college. I don't know what class it was. Was it college? Maybe it wasn't. I don't know what it was. I don't know when it was. It was a long time ago. And we had to make a dream board. We had cut out a magnet. I think it was communications. I don't know what it was. But it was a class, and we had to make a dream board. We had to put all the things that we wanted on, that we desired. I'm thinking, and this is back when I didn't desire really much of anything, because I grew up so poor. I was like, when you grow up poor and you grow up in a neighborhood where nobody has anything, it's like, what do you desire? Like, what have you been exposed to that would cause you to desire those things? So when you see people in the hood and they don't desire much, and they just don't aspire to be much of anything or to do much of anything, it's because they're not exposed to it. Like, they're not aware of the opportunities or that are out there, the different things that they can engage in. It isn't until someone comes along and exposes them to something, and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, that's so amazing, like, people actually do this. Even like, I remember the first time I went to a restaurant, and they had like the 5 and 7 course meals. It's like, I didn't experience that growing up. And I remember, maybe I saw it on TV, but I was like, okay, TV is TV. It's not something that you really think is real. Oh, great. Locked it off. Oh, yeah, I remember. They're putting a train. I may be taking a train. No, I won't. Well, I won't say I won't, but I don't think it would benefit me to take the train. Anyway, so I remember going to this restaurant. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, I'll have this, and they're like, oh, it's, it's all together, sir, blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh. And it was, I hadn't been exposed to that. But once I was exposed to it, I actually desire those types of meals when I go out to restaurants. Like, I desire it to be brought to me in stages, like this course, that course, this course, that course. It's an experience that I enjoyed when I experienced it, and so now I desire it. Well, anyway, the dream board. So I understood what the dream board is. It's about, the dream board was no different than me looking at my car brochures. It was no different. You look at it and you think about having it. You think about experiencing life in that scene, whatever it is, and that's it. But the key is to not have any resistance when you're doing that. Just simply picture yourself there. And the thing is, you don't worry about this is resistance. So you can picture yourself in a nice home, and you're out in the garden in the back, and you're planting this, and you're digging up that, or whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever it is that you picture it. But once you start introducing how it's going to get done, how you're going to pay for it, how it's going to come about, it's resistance. Because now again, that goes back to, you don't have faith in the universe bringing you those things, and you don't have faith in yourself in terms of your soul having the power to generate those things for you, to manifest those things for you. So what happens is you start thinking about, well, I don't have the kind of money to pay for it, I don't have the kind of job to pay for that, and I just, you bring in these things that prevent you from having it, and that's the resistance. So you have to get rid of the resistance. Anyway, that's it. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'm sure I'll talk to you at some point. All right? Have a good one. Bye now.